Welcome to Restrocast. Today my guest is Jeff Alexander, somebody who I call a maverick and a master of restaurants. Jeff probably has done everything on all types of concepts a restaurant dreams of, starting with a full service, fine dine, large restaurant, to QSRs, to kiosks, to today what he's doing at Wow Bao. It's almost restaurant-less. In this conversation, I saw that Jeff is somebody who is a risk taker by imagining the future and living it. The courage to, take a shot at what future might be. Things like back in 2008 and 9, Jeff was the one who started an online ordering, self-ordering kiosk. To somebody who in 2023 is releasing NFTs for Wow Bao. I came out of this conversation inspired to take a shot at future, to fail, to figure out what it's going to be a couple of years from now while running the show as is today. I hope you're going to enjoy it as well. See you. Thank you. Welcome to Restrocast. Thank you for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Jeff, I've read, a lot on not only your entrepreneurial journey, but a lot of things that you talked about, and I have so many questions and so many topics to talk about.
I hope I have lots of answers.
Right from branding to bootstrapping to being that underdog brand to technology, NFTs, Web3. It's a lot of spectrum to cover. But I'm interested in knowing where it all started, because getting into the restaurant space, diving in headfirst is not something that people really think about. That's what I believe. They fall into it most of the times. How did you?
Yeah, how did I fall into it? I guess you should say I've fallen and I haven't gotten up yet. When I was growing up, I've been around food. I've worked in a grocery store. I've worked in a special high-end food market. But when I went away to college, I ended up working at a restaurant bar on campus for 3 years, my sophomore, junior, senior years. Started as a fry cook, became the grill cook. They had me bouncing at the door at nighttime for whatever reason.
Cook.
And then I got to be a bartender and eventually a shift supervisor and a manager while I was in school. But I've always had a strong work ethic. I've always worked my whole life since I was about 7 years old. I've always had some kind of a job at some point. So I was taking full classes and working around food. And I was dating someone a year older than me who graduated and moved to Chicago. We were in school in Madison, Wisconsin. And I would visit her on weekends. And every weekend we'd go out to eat, and it was just a different restaurant, but they all ended up being under the same umbrella company called Let Us Entertain You. And I applied for a position, and they told me it would take a year of me being a host or a server until they'd consider me for management. And on the first day of work, they made me management, and I didn't question it, and I just never gotten off the track.
Wow.
And what's been nice, is Let Us Entertain You has about 60 different concepts. It's a 51-year-old privately held restaurant group created by Richard Melman, many different concepts they've created. But for me, I went through about 10 different concepts or so, or 8 different concepts during a 20-something year span. So it was almost like every 2 years or every 3 years was basically a new job, because it was a whole new cuisine, a whole new look of a restaurant, whole new staff, new challenges. So it was, while I was always in the business, I wasn't doing the same job always. I might have had the same position, but it was always a new start every couple of years, which made it really exciting for me.
So, when you say that they turned you into management on the day one, what were you doing? You were managing that restaurant, or this was?
Well, I went through training for 13 weeks, but I went through management training. In the Let Us Entertain You world, you do every position in the house over the 13 weeks, from dishwasher all the way up to floor manager. And at the end of the 13 weeks, I was on the floor as a manager, a nighttime manager, working the dining room. The restaurant was called Shaw's Crab House, which is a seafood restaurant, 18,000 square feet. It's 2 different restaurants in one, the Oyster Bar and the main dining room. Very successful, started back in about 1984. Still there today, many years later. And it was a training ground for me because it was at the time, the dining room had busboy, back waiter, and front waiter, so it was full high-end dining. And the oyster bar was more food runners and servers. So you got both ends of the spectrum on a high-end price tag with a lot of alcohol and wine and high clientele. And once you get into the business, the bug bites you and you can't get out, which is why I keep my kids away from it.
Oh, really?
My daughter's done it. My daughter's 24 now, and she's bartended. She's managed a bar when she was in college. She's served, and she loves doing it. She loves the business, but I won't let her do it full time. She's got to find other things to do.
Why?
Because it's not a life. It's a hard lifestyle. And when I look back on my life, I have no regrets, and I've met fantastic people, and I've done tremendous things. But not everybody gets that growth pattern. And you're working when everyone else is not working.
Yeah.
And it's 365, right?
Literally.
There are no holidays.
Literally.
There are no holidays, long hours. And it's hard to have work-life balance in the restaurant industry until you get to a certain position to achieve it. Now it's different in today's world. I hire enough people that everybody wants work-life balance, and the employee.
But do they get it?
Well, the employee base is being a little bit more stringent about their demands of what their expectation is. So it's our job as good leaders to find and help them achieve work-life balance. But the clientele, their work-life balance is when they're dining, is when our employees want the balance, right? So it's hard to do it. So I keep the children out of it. I want them to enjoy it and have fun with it and be interested in it and enjoy to eat. It's a great teaching. My daughter has an unbelievable work ethic because of what she's learned in the restaurant industry. And I do think everyone at some point should work in it to understand how to treat people the right way and work hard. But
also, that's a big one, right? Because the work ethic piece in the restaurant space is really about doing the right thing when nobody's watching, because you're handling something that people are going to eat with a lot of trust in you. Cleanliness actually starts, hygiene starts at the back of the house where nobody's actually watching you, and if you're wrong there, then your work ethic goes down the drain from there.
You're 100% right, but I look at it differently. Hygiene is everywhere in the restaurant, right? When you walk in, if there's crumbs on the floor, you're immediately turned off. And if God forbid you go into the bathroom of the restaurant, it's dirty. I mean, then what does the kitchen look like? If you're showing me the bathroom to be dirty, the kitchen must be god awful, right? And that's how I was raised in the industry: is everything matters, and everything you do is marketing. Every single thing you put in front of that guest is a way that you're marketing your restaurant. You're marketing who you are, and you're marketing the belief in the restaurant. And as the leader, it has to be important to you. If it's important to you to give good hospitality, your team will give good hospitality. If it's important to you to be clean and to do things sanitary, then it will happen that way. If it's not important to the leader, then it's very hard for everyone else to attach themselves to it because they never get the praise. And where you're saying, we all want to catch people doing the right thing, the restaurant industry has so many moving parts, and the clientele doesn't see everything to thank and recognize that employee. And as good leaders, we need to be constantly walking around and saying thank you and taking notice and so on.
Going back to your Let Us Enter to New Days, right? Mm-hmm. So you started there, and then you're saying that almost every 2 years there was a new concept. And what was your journey like within that? Like, were you creating concepts? Were you just managing? When did that become was it the P&L management? Was it still, the product? What parts of the business?
It's a good question. Thank you for asking it. So in 93, when I joined the company, I was what would be called a number 4 manager, general manager, then a 2, a 3, and a 4 in the lettuce world. And the number 4 manager, you order supplies, or you order linen, or and you work the night shift. And the number 3 manager, you order liquor, and you might start doing schedules and be involved in interviewing. Number 2 is in charge of all the R&M, repairs and maintenance, the contract maintenance, the P&L, the food cost. And then the general manager does all the hiring and into the P&L and oversees the business. So I was a number 4 in 1993, became a number 3 manager. And then in 95, I wanted to grow. And I was given the opportunity to go from Shaw's, from an 18,000 square foot restaurant doing huge volume in business, big top number sales, to a small 1,800 square foot little Asian concept that was trying to find itself. And I said no. So I stayed working nights at Shaw's. And then later that year, I said, I want to grow. And they said, well, we still have this opportunity. So I went there, became a number 2 manager, working underneath what was the GM, but he was really the partner of the restaurant. And the team was so impressed with my work ethic and what I was doing that they were opening another location of that Asian concept. It was called Big Bowl in 1996. And they offered me the position to go to that new restaurant as the general manager. Mm-hmm. So I became the general manager of that. We opened over the next 5 years, we opened 8 more locations. And I grew into what was an area director role where all the GMs reported to me and I reported to the partners of the business. And then like an hourglass, the partners went to me and I went back to the GMs. And in that role, I really got involved in construction. I got involved in, construction was probably the big thing that I learned. My next restaurant, we sold Big Bowl to Brinker International. They own Chili's and Macaroni Grill. They used to own Macaroni Grill. And I went to what was called Vong, which John George Vonga-Richten is a known chef out of New York. He had 5 Vongs around the country. We were running the Chicago location. And my job was to close it and reconcept it. And that was my first time really deciding a menu, deciding the entire look of the restaurant. Myself and Kevin Brown is now the CEO of Lettuce. We worked hand in hand, and he gave me a lot of freedom in making the decisions. And then the next concept I worked on was in Minnesota. We opened up 10 quick serve Asian kiosks inside grocery stores.
Wow.
And I had built 14 of them in 10 weeks. And I remember clearly, I was standing in Ridgedale, Minnesota in this grocery store, and I had a lot of freedom in the build. And I'm looking at this wall, and this is a huge wall. I mean, massively long wall. And I'm standing there, I called Kevin, and I said, I think we need to make this wall green. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, vegetable green, like what kind of green? I was like, Kermit the Frog green. And he said, it's only paint. And when he said those words to me, it empowered me in such a way that it's okay to make a mistake. It's only paint. So it's the wrong color, you repaint it, right? And that's really where I between Big Bowl letting me learn construction, VTK, Vong's Thai Kitchen is what we reconcept Vong at, doing menu development, and then having this full empowerment in Minnesota to build these 10 restaurants. Those 3 journeys really gave me the autonomy and the confidence to do more. Then I opened up a restaurant called Frankie's Scallopini, created the entire menu for that one.
That was under Lettuce.
That was under Lettuce. It was Tucci Benucci was one of Lettuce's original restaurants. It was 20 years old. I went in to close it and to create this new restaurant. I worked hand in hand with Rich Melman, our founder, did the whole design of the restaurant, created the menu for the restaurant. And then I took over Wow Bao. And in the last 13, 14 years that I've been doing Wow Bao, I've had complete autonomy to do things. And that's where we got technology involved. In 2010, we used self-ordering kiosks.
And we'll come to that. I think for me, the most amazing thing is that from Shaw's to kiosk, right? So it's the journey is reverse. I don't know.
I went from very high end to very quick serve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Super quick serve. Actually, you're talking about having like kiosk in a grocery store, right?
Yeah.
How do you look at that journey, and what part of? And I think for Wow Bao, you've gone further down, and you're supplying, right? So it's almost restaurant-less.
Yes.
In a certain way. What happened?
So. First of all, I love full service. If I could do anything when I retire, I would love to own some kind of a neighborhood sports bar, with the TVs and the games on and everyone's there and having a good time. But I don't want to work nights anymore, and I don't want to work 365. And if you own your own little one place, you're all the time. So my dream probably won't come true. But my journey allowed me to try all of these different cuisines, style of service, old school service to very modern technology ways, because I was just given a lot of trust by a lot of really, really good people. Between Rich Melman and Kevin Brown, both of Lettuce, John Shulkin, who's my partner in private equity from Valor Equity Partners. There's just been a lot of trust that's been given to me, whether I've earned it or not. it's about evolution and innovation. And I always say that if you're not evolving, if you're not innovating, you're not growing. And you have to look at your business. And it's funny to me, everyone's talking about self-ordering kiosks now, and McDonald's is doing it, and Shake Shack's doing it, and we're here in Las Vegas, and everywhere you go, I checked in the hotel on a self-ordering kiosk. Like, I've been doing this for almost 15 years. This is not new technology, but it's become mainstream. And what I really enjoy about the industry, and when you talk about how we changed from higher end dining to this almost supplying to restaurants now, it's just been a great time in the industry to see how things are changing at such a rapid pace and to be able to be part of that. And if I stayed in the same restaurant doing the same thing, restaurateurs don't change. We don't evolve. We don't have the money. We don't have the skill set. We don't have the patience. We don't want the headache. I've taken on headaches in every one of my roles because headaches are how you grow and how you move further.
But is that restaurant industry is also about compounding, right? So a brand, somebody built a brand, somebody built a certain kind of product, a certain type of service, then compounded that over decades to build a brand which people relate to, or service they relate to. When you're continuously talking about disrupting that, you're challenging the status quo. Is that because Jeff is bored, or is it because he's just the disruptor? Or
I haven't really thought about why we keep doing this, but I think it's the world is moving faster now than it has ever moved. Sure. Right? I have a 12-year-old son who I remember. Some of your listeners may remember this and may not, but I like to say now when I get stuck that my VCR is blinking 12 o'clock. Now, for those of you who know what a VCR is, video cassette recorder, it always had a clock in front of it. Yeah. You used to go to your grandparents' house, and it was always blinking 12 o'clock because they didn't know how to change the time on it, right?
Oh, wow. You know what? I don't think, my parents' VCR, they ever changed the clock. It was always blinking 12 o'clock.
No one knew how to... The older generation didn't know how to do this, but we would go in there and be like, this is silly, and it would annoy us, and we would change it. Well, now in the world that's going on, I'm my grandparents. Because my son picks up a phone or picks up some kind of technology and pushes buttons faster than I can see what's happening and does things that I can't do. And if the world is going to move at that speed, we can't sit still. Now, the disruption part, here we are at the MURTEC convention, and you go downstairs and you walk through their pavilion and all the technology there. All the technology is wonderful. All the technology is enhancing our experience. The problem is none of the technology is made by restaurant people. So all of that technology, no matter how good it is, we as entrepreneurs, if we want to use the technology, and worse, if we don't want to use it, but we're forced to use it by our clientele, is we have to adapt our business to fit the technology. The technology and the restaurant business are the only two businesses that don't work together to get to an end result. One of us has to change our business model, and generally it's the restaurant.
I mean, nowadays. Earlier it wasn't.
I don't know if I agree with that. I remember in 2000 when KDS, kitchen display screens, right? You put in your kitchen, when you order the food, it would show up on a screen so the cook knew how to make it. There were a lot of headaches with that because you can only have so many characters. So if you had lobster thermidor, which is a lot of characters, well, you're only allowed 10 characters. So now it's like, okay, what am I going to call it? Oh, call it this. But the cook doesn't relate to that.
It doesn't care.
And then at one point you had to, whatever you wrote on the KDS is what came out on the check to the customer. So if you wrote CHIX for chicken, right? Because we all use CHX. The customer was like, I didn't order this. So there's always been this, we have to adapt.
I hear you.
But what I enjoy about it is if you embrace the technology, there's so much reward for it and acceptance. And then you get invited to do such great podcasts like this.
But on that note, what were you thinking when you did a self-ordering kiosk 15 years back? Why did you do that? today we have a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Everybody's crying about 20,000 other things apart from labor shortage to to COVID to people having the experience of ordering on DoorDash, etc. So
Yep.
they're more open to just walk into your store, learn your kiosk, and but what was happening 15 years back?
In 2008, I went to Rich Melman and Kevin Brown, and I said, I want to take over Wow Bao. Wow Bao started in 2003. It was between partners, and it wasn't growing. And they told me I could take it over January of 2009. So in late 2008, we were voting for president. And I remember waiting outside in line for 45 minutes to go in to take my turn to vote. And when I finally got in the room, they said to me, okay, you made it to the room. It's going to be another 20 minutes. Or there's a machine over there, and you can use that and vote right away. And I said, well, is my vote going to count if I use the machine? Like, of course it's going to count. So I went to the machine, and it was just, who do you want? Pick and choose. And I'm like, we need these in the restaurant. Wow. I mean, that was as simple as that. And at the time, we were using machines for ATMs, movie tickets, and airlines.
Sure.
And I guess for voting, right? That's the only place you saw these kind of machines. And I thought this could be the game changer for us. And we had it quickly. We got this going. And in May or March, I think it was March of 2010, right? It took us a year. We started installing it.
And these were like Wow Bao stores.
Maybe it was 2009. But yeah, we had 3 brick and mortar stores, and I put in 2 machines because the salesman said you can't have one because if there's one and someone's on it, everyone's going to walk away. Yeah. Great sales technique. Remember that if you're ever doing it. So I bought 2. And I remember the installer was on the ground, plugging in the machine, setting it up, and someone walked up and started trying to order on it. It was getting frustrated it wasn't working. And I'm like, wow, we picked the right Wow Bao. We picked the right thing. I mean, this is going to work. And we watched it immediately. Check average went up by like 89 cents a person. Flow through basically tripled because we added 2 registered, basically. We were able to lose a cashier, so we saved payroll.
Sure.
And our throughput, we were doing people through the line. You could order on the machine and get your food and get out of the restaurant in 54 seconds. It was unbelievable what we did. So we couldn't put them in the other 2 restaurants fast enough. You fast forward to 2017, after Valor got involved with us, when the private equity got involved, we partnered with a company at the time, and we elevated our self-ordering kiosks at that time to include ordering from a tablet and a phone and an Android, and we had animated cubbies. We had a wall of cubbies. There were animated cartoons on them, personalized. There'd be a screen up on top that would say your name and what cubby to go to, and you go to the cubby and it would say, hi, Jeff, and your food would be in there, and you double tap, the door would open, your food would come out. It's a completely autonomous, automatic front of the house experience. And the evolution just keeps coming.
That was 2017.
2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I think you're picking that up from a that still sounds unreal to me. I mean, not that I'm not believing you. I'm just saying that in the restaurant space, we provide technology to the restaurants. But even now, post-COVID, as soon as things got normal, I'm the guy who's actually going to the restaurants and asking for the physical menu. I'm not interested in
the QR code.
We provide that technology, but I'm really not interested for
Right.
many different reasons. One of them is that personal touch. One of them is really talking to a human.
Yeah.
Talking about the best of the day, or chef special, or what's recommended, or and the last thing I really want to do is just fiddle around with my phone. Is that regressive, or is that?
No, I think the QR code has been a great thing during COVID for us to do menus.
Sure.
But I would much rather read a menu because I think that's more social when you're at the table with someone else. I tried to coin this phrase and my PR team didn't like it at the time, but I was trying to use hospitality, which is the combination of hospitality and technology. Because what happens a lot is we are in the hospitality business, but the technology is disrupting that. And our job as the leader is to find a way to incorporate the technology without giving away hospitality. And when we talk about this fully automated restaurants we were doing, we had 3 of them. There was 0 human interaction. Now, we paid someone to stand in the front and say hello and goodbye and thank you and could answer questions for you. But during COVID, when everybody was trying to stop having hospitality, right, and go to pick up and not have interaction, I actually ripped out all those machines and went back to counter service, because what I felt was during COVID, we lost interaction. We were all locked up. We weren't able to talk to one another, and we were scared. And I thought that was the most important time to bring back hospitality, because we needed human interaction, right? Food, if you think about food, we're surrounded by food at all times. We celebrate with food and we commiserate with food, right? You always have to have food available. And if you remove the hospitality factor of that, the connection that food brings, that's a problem. So there's a place for technology in our business. Like, for instance, you can pay at the table now in a lot of restaurants. Have you done this where you're sitting down in a restaurant and they take your credit card and they turn around and hand it to you? It is the most uncomfortable moment about what you're going to tip, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah, like, I'm watching.
Right. Like, I love you're not taking my credit card and stealing it in the back and going on Amazon with my credit card. Like, this is great that it's right there, but it's uncomfortable. So there's got to be an answer. Maybe you leave the machine with me and walk away. But we haven't found that out yet because we're so into how fast we can do things.
No, I think personally, we provide all this technology to the restaurants all over the globe, but I personally feel that technology's job is to bring efficiency to your service, to your operation, to your backend, right? There are too many things that technology can solve. I think the human interaction in the restaurant is still something that I personally feel, in a very old school way, that it's important. And self-ordering kiosks as a queue buster in fast food, fast casual, I still understand. At a certain point, like if you're at an airport, if you're at a grocery store, if you're in a high street and you quickly want to, a drive-through, I understand that, right? But then in the full service restaurants, even in semi fine dine, I think having QR code, having kiosks, or having any kind of self-order and self-pay and checkout is like, I think it's pushing the technology too far. I do see the reason when somebody says it's because of the labor shortage. I don't think that's a bond.
I don't think that's the reason. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that there's a generation gap. And the children of today, and I'm going to start with children, the 24-year-old because of my daughter, going down to my son who's 12. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know anything but pushing a button. Now, we didn't grow up that way. So we want a wine list, not an iPad to scroll through, right? We want someone to come and tell us about everything. We want that old steak cart or fish cart to roll up to our table and show us what's the special for today. But this younger generation doesn't want to be involved. They don't know how to have the conversation. They don't want to have the conversation, and they're distracted too quickly. So it's not, is one right or wrong? I think it's generational. I think another important thing is, I could be wrong about this, but I didn't grow up in the restaurant business. I grew up in the hospitality business. And a lot in the last 5 years, 10 years, everyone talks about the restaurant business. I think we need to get back to talking about the hospitality business. And that's part of the disconnect, right? Because the business has always been about giving hospitality, right? We serve food. And the key to that is we serve food, right?
But I think we're already past that, right?
But we need to get back to that. There's a lot of restaurants right now that I go out and there's no manager on the floor. You know? And in old school, manager walked by, checked on you at the table, was always present to make sure service was good, food came out right, like even just walked around and said hello and thank you for coming in. Now you don't have anybody anywhere. And the servers are, to some degree, the inmates are running the asylum in some places. And that's why I think the service has gone down. That's why I think the labor has changed. And I think people are trying to use technology to solve for some of that, right? You used to call a restaurant and get somebody on the phone and make a reservation. Well, now you do it on your phone and online. Or you call a restaurant and you're not talking to a person. It's all AI. Some of the AI is very good and totally does what you need. But then you get to like the 6th question Like you have that special request, I want a certain table or something, and the AI gets confused.
Yeah.
And now you
totally.
turn what was a really good experience into, I want to
Very
hang up and call
mechanical,
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very mechanical experience, and then you're like defeated the purpose. But you know what? I think that's why I also believe that the immediate future, or rather maybe the present as well, of dine-in restaurants, or the pressure on restaurant industry to give that superlative experience for anybody who's walking your door is actually much higher than before. Because now, when I'm only interacting with technology to get the same food, maybe in the delivery or even in a self-checkout or even just walking into the store, unless you give me an experience which was like way above, what I could have taken from interacting with technology, I'm not going to walk into your
Well, the
restaurant.
problem is, I had a great dinner here in Las Vegas last night, but the service was terrible. But the experience was great. And the reason why the service was terrible was we ordered drinks. It was like 7 of us, and the drinks came literally with the first course. The timing is off. Now, there could be a number of reasons why the timing's off. The technology didn't send the information to the bar. They're shorthanded and they can't get the food, whatever it may be. But I think what's happening is there's such a reliance on technology that it is not allowing us to give the service that we're paying for. The cost to the clientele, the cost to the consumer is going up dramatically.
Sure.
It has never been more expensive to dine out. It will only be more expensive tomorrow than it is today.
Yeah.
But the service we're giving isn't matching. Now, the restaurant industry used to be a place to learn how to get a job, right? Part-time when you were in school, when you were finding your real career. Some people made it a career, but it was a starter job, right? A lot of us worked when we were X years old in a McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. Somewhere 12 years ago, give or take, the restaurant industry became a place to support a family. Labor wages went up, unions, whatever it may be. And that really changed the dynamic of the restaurant. That's why technology became so important, because we couldn't afford to pay people. We couldn't afford people to, we couldn't afford to have as many people working because we had to pay these people these rates so they could take care of these families. That's not how the restaurant was built. And if the restaurants go back to what it was built for, I think the service will come back. But the service doesn't come back now because we rely on the technology so much because we can't have the number of people that we need to run the business. And the costs just keep going up.
Yeah, and I think we are way past that mark for it to come back. I'm afraid, because what the point you're making is very interesting.
I had an Eggs Benedict and a glass of grapefruit juice this morning. It was $43 before tip. I mean, and it'll be the cheapest Eggs Benedict and glass of grapefruit juice I'm ever going to have again in Las Vegas.
No, true. But I find this dissonance now, because in my head, one thing that I was wondering is, what about the NFT and Web3 on Wowwow? And I'm just jumping this on this other side, because
I love full service and I love technology. I just want them to work harmoniously. And what we're trying to do with the NFT platform is we instilled a rewards program for our dark kitchen, our virtual restaurants. And we look at the Web3 opportunity and the NFT opportunity as a way to enhance that rewards program. So we want to take the NFT.
What's this about? Like, can you, let's do some NFT for dummies when a restaurant brand, when food, right? Because I can tell you, last 2 years, and especially after COVID, right, how Web3 and crypto was going through the roof. And a lot of people were asking me as a technologist that, so what are you thinking about it? I'm like, you know what? I'm just glad that people are going to eat food not in metaverse. They will have to eat it in the real universe.
Yeah.
I'm just glad about that. Can you dumb it down for us? How does a restaurateur, or how do you look at what's NFT or Web3 in food?
So for me, for the NFT, it's creating a community, right? It's someone who is either interested in buying an NFT or having an NFT so that they have a direct relationship with us on a level that the common person does not. So if I want to buy an NFT for $99, I'm making an investment into, I'm saying something to that restaurant that I'm not saying to the person who doesn't want to spend $99, right? I'm making up a dollar figure right here. So our goal with the NFT is to sell however many of these. We're going to sell them at different tiers with different benefits to go along with it. But the purpose of it is to create a dialogue and to have a conversation and community with owners of the NFT. Right now, if I just put out there, hey, send me your thoughts, which we all have on our website. We all have a contact us button. It's really a complaint button. No one ever calls you up with,
ideas.
Right. They just reach out to you when something's wrong. But the NFT idea for us is by creating this community, we can exchange a free flow conversation with consumers, people who are vested into WowBow, that they care about WowBow enough that they want to say, I want to have a voice. And I will pay a small stipend to be able to have access to share ideas, to hear what's going on. And we will give you benefits that most other people don't have. One of the talks we're having about is allowing the people who has an NFT just even have my email. Like you can actually email the CEO of the company with a thought or a question or a concern. Now, the other side of the coin is what if they give away the email, right? There's password protections, all these things you got, right? I don't want to talk about red light thinking. Let's stick with green light thinking and ideas to have with it, right? What if
you're basically selling the privilege, right? They're feeling the privilege.
Well, it's a privilege, but I don't look at it as a privilege. It's a benefit, right? But the idea of it is, it's dialogue. What we've lost in the virtual kitchen space, right, with everyone using DoorDash and all this stuff, and we were just talking about what technology does, you've lost the human interaction. I just talked to you about how we don't see managers of restaurants walking around the dining room, right? You used to walk around the dining room or sitting down at dinner and the manager would come by and you could give feedback, right? Positive or negative, right? Or just made to feel welcome and thank that you were there. The purpose for us is to create this community where a set of people, and anybody can buy the NFT and join the community, but to have a way to share back a dialogue. We thought about having access to our chef once a quarter, whether it's, ask the chef how to make, something, or it could be cooking demonstrations, whatever it may be, but that is a closed opportunity for people. We have a bunch of other ideas that we're throwing away, and maybe they don't sound exciting and maybe they sound very exciting, but the purpose of it is to bring back connection. That's how we're using the NFT. Now, in the metaverse, in the Web3, there's a lot of things that are going on in there that I can't speak to. But our idea for that is, if people are going to be submerged into this universe, into the metaverse, and they're going to be playing games and having encounters, whatever it is they're doing, we think that we could start off slow by being there. And by being there, it might be the world billboard on their journey in there, just reinforcing the idea of WowBow. But our goal to get to is we have hot food vending machines. We have about 30 of them across the country right now in Florida, Georgia, and here in Las Vegas. And our idea would be in the metaverse is to have a WowBow vending machine. And if you were to walk up to the machine to choose an item, it actually takes you to our online delivery platform where you could order your food and it would be then delivered to your house, so you never actually leave the metaverse, right? It's not like, hey, mom, time for dinner, and you got to take your headset off and put it away and give me 5 more minutes. Like, you can actually stay in that experience doing whatever it is you're doing, and the food will just be delivered to you. That's where we want to get to. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but we believe that there's going to be a clientele that is going to be there.
That's very interesting. But all your community ideas, I'm just intrigued by, the access that you're talking about. Where are these right now? Are they in the build? Are you already?
We're going to be minting in May.
Huh?
We're going to be minting our NFTs in May, so we're ready to go.
We'll be almost there.
Yeah, we'll be minting in May.
So I think it'll be great to catch up again on that, because I'm just intrigued by the ideas of community.
Yeah.
But are you validating these ideas from anywhere? Are there brands who are doing this successfully, if not in the restaurant space?
I don't know anyone.
In the adjacent space.
I don't know people who are doing this. That's the thing. I think that a lot of what the NFT community wants is they want community. right? So if you're going to enter the NFT space, you have to be willing to create a community of a dialogue, and you have to really listen to the people who are communicating to you. If you're not going to listen to them, they're not going to stay in your community. Okay, so I don't personally own an NFT. I'm not in a community, but we see the value that this group of people, however large or small it may be, can help us be better, and can help drive help us drive to where we are trying to get to.
About Wow Wow, going from full service restaurant and still loving full service restaurants to going absolutely restaurant-less.
Yes.
You know, what's happening there? Where are you taking Wow Wow? Is it never going to have a restaurant of its own? What's this, piece about supplying to the restaurants and still having the brand Wow Wow, as a recognizable brand? Is this, what's happening here? Is this about, what's the brand about now for you? Is it about demand that consumer can still have in somebody else's restaurant about the Wow Wow? Or is it really about, just distribution, and converting to an FMCG player? Where is that difference between, where do you blur the lines?
So Wow Bao is to be everywhere that people want us to be. That is the answer. So we have brick and mortar stores. We have 3 in Chicago.
Sure.
We have 5 or 6 airport locations. We have college campuses. We've done sports stadiums. Currently, we have a frozen grocery line. We're in about close to 400 grocery stores. We're available e-commerce on Amazon and Walmart. We partner with a sushi group where we do sushi counters inside grocery stores. We have about 1,000 sushi counters. We'll be at about 1,600 by the middle of this year that are selling the product. So and when people say, well, what's the next step? I don't know what the next step is. We have 700 dark kitchens or virtual restaurants around the country and Canada where other restaurants are selling the product. So it's really about where can we go that we haven't gone yet? And our brand, what's different about Wow Bao than just about any other restaurant, the only other restaurants or brands in food that I think can do what we do is Krispy Kreme and Cinnabon. They're the only 2 brands I think can do what we're doing. And the reason why I say that is we have manufacturing of our product. All of our product is shipped frozen. And all you have to do is steam, boil water to make it. Cinnabon, manufactured product, can be shipped anywhere. Krispy Kreme, same thing. Nobody else that I could think of can do what we do. Ice cream can do it, but there's only so many months out of the year really where you do a lot of ice cream business. So that opens up doors for us that doesn't open up for other people, right? I remember when they were building the Freedom Tower in New York City. There was a story that on I think it was the 35th or the 50th floor of the skeleton, right? There wasn't even a building, of the skeleton. They had a subway or something that so they could feed all the construction workers. And I always thought that could be us. Because all you need is some way to boil water. That's it, whether it's a hot plate you plug in or literally fire. I think our food could literally be on a space shuttle. We could put our food into Tesla, whatever they have on the highway where you stop to refill your car, right? Whatever they call those things. We have hot food vending machines. Nobody's got that. The product is so versatile and appeals. We didn't create Bao. Bao's been around thousands of years. Sure. From China where there's a billion people, right? The opportunity that we have with this food is so gigantic. And when everyone looks at us and sees how omni-channel we are and how we're in so many different places and we're doing so many things, we're like on the beginning of where we could be. And when someone says, well, where are we going next? I don't know. I didn't know we were going to do sushi counters, right? I didn't know that, we were going to be involved in doing the virtual restaurant thing until late 2019. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us.
So when you're talking about such formlessness, there's no form here, right? You're literally talking about being formless as a restaurant. I mean, I don't even know whether I can call it a restaurant anymore or not. What's the structure And what does it look like being the custodian of the brand's Wow Wow? Because customers, I'm sure, are experiencing Wow Wow at different,
Yep.
at different form factors and different, I don't know if you can control if it's steamed right or not, if it's hot enough or not, unless it's your own restaurant.
That is
or
the
your
most
own-
important thing
Correct.
in the entire
How are
business.
you receiving this customer feedback? What's the brand management and what does customer listening look like? If you
Yeah.
can break down both.
The secret
separately.
sauce of how we make sure we're doing it right, the quality control. So that is what we have done is we have given other operators, whether it's our airport partners, our college campus partners, or our dark kitchen partners, right? All these other restaurants, we have given them our brand. That is the most dangerous thing you can do is give somebody your brand, right? They're never going to live and breathe it the way we live and breathe it. And the cook at X restaurant who's doing so many hamburgers or fried chicken sandwiches tonight and has to make 3 orders of Wow Bao, we need that cook to care about making it right.
And your customer is going to look at Wow Wow as Wow Wow.
Yeah.
Right? So
And sometimes they don't know it didn't come out of a Wow Bao. And sometimes they hate the restaurant that it actually came from. And they're offended that we would work with such a restaurant. I mean, there are many different scenarios. And then you see it in the grocery store or you see it in the airport, wherever it may be. So this is the most dangerous thing a company can do. And all we can do is teach and share culture. And if someone's not doing it right, we can turn them off. And we have the right to turn them off.
so what's the process of listening?
But so we listen on social. We listen on that contact us button on the website. We read the reviews. And what you have to remember is we're basically serving somewhere around 4,000 meals a day across the United States. Okay, it's a round number. So what's the number of complaints that is a red flag? Right? I do something that I kick myself for doing every single day. I get all the complaints. I actually read all the complaints.
What do you mean by that?
So they all come to my email. I say to myself every time I should be taken off the distribution list. I don't need to be reading these. No good's going to come out of me reading these. But I read every single note that comes in from guests. Now, I don't respond to them. I have other people, right, who need to be handling that. But
But you're talking about even today?
At this moment.
Yeah.
I probably have 4 or 5 on my email today that I haven't looked at yet. It's just, that's what happens, right? But if you're serving 4,000 meals a day, how many complaints is too many? Arguably 1 is too many. But we all know we're going to get one,
Sure.
right? What you have to look for is you have to look for patterns. If it's a question of portion size or food quality or a particular location or missing items, and then you have to address that. You can't just turn around and have a magic wand sweep that corrects all the problems. You have to understand what the problem is. And sometimes the problem isn't even with us. We might hear we're not worth the value. Well, you got to remember on third-party delivery, there's like $12 in fees that we can't control.
Sure.
Right? You walk into my restaurant, you could get a full meal for $12. You want that exact same meal on third-party delivery, it could be 2 to 3 times the cost, depending on which operator is running it, which platform it's on, and how much you tipped. And was it surge pricing and all these other things that go on there, which are totally out of our hands. So now all of a sudden you're hearing not worth the price. Is it really not worth the price if everything was done correctly? Or is it the fees? And if it's the fees, how do you communicate that? Because that's not even us. So what you need to do is you need to find brand ambassadors. You need to find people in communities who really like your product. And it means more coming from non-employee people than it does coming from me. And if you can get these brand ambassadors, not necessarily to contact the person with the complaint, but to be out there in public cheering on your brand.
So you're talking about making sure that you encourage your brand promoters to also voice their praise?
No, we don't, yes and no. So what I mean by that is on social, you have to build a relationship with people. And if there are people out there who are singing your praises, whether it's direct to you, on a review site, or on social, you need to interact with them as much or more than the ones who are complaining to you. Because you need voices to be louder than other voices.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And this goes back to the conversation we were having about technology and hospitality. Hospitality is all about answering the call when it comes to you. The difference is with technology right now is everybody has a voice.
Correct.
No matter what, you could say something. That is difficult. It's difficult to keep up with. I mean, we have somebody on our team whose only job is customer service, who sits there all day long responding positively to positives and to negatives and helping with whatever it may be. But the technology has made it so much easier for people to say negative things than it ever has been. And it will only be easier tomorrow for them to say negative things.
No, because Jeff, I think why I asked you this question also is because I was listening to your story of how you surprised a lady who tweeted about
Oh, when she was eating when we first joined Twitter in 2009. Yes.
Correct. And right and she tweeted about going through a bad day or having a day and you surprised her with a dessert immediately while she was there while you tweeted back. I think that was phenomenal. That speaks volumes of about how much of a brand consciousness you have had over time. But I think it's not that simple today to be listening to every direction in social media. Social media has.
I disagree. It is as simple. Mm-hmm. It's just, are you dedicating resources to it? Because for every system that's out there that someone can communicate to me to, there's a system out there that will listen, right? There are aggregators that will pull in all the reviews, right? There are automatic bots that can respond for you. You can have somebody on your team do it. I mean, it's resources. Everything costs money, but the resources exist. It's, again, when we first started this conversation, we talked about what's important to the leader. If it's important that every single thing gets answered to, which there's a lot, right? There's Google reviews. There's tons of information coming into you. Well, do you want to respond or do you not want to respond? Do you want to be a brand to be known to or not?
Have you shut down locations or have you shut down operators, from setting Wawa because the reviews were bad?
We have worked with operators to make it better. We haven't necessarily shut them down yet. We are actually, it's the first time that we're having such conversations right now. Because what happened was we got involved in the dark kitchen space. We call it dark kitchens, which is because we believe there's extra capacity inside restaurants and the area is dark and we can help turn the lights on. And what happened was we had this idea in 2019 and then COVID hit. And we've had this hockey stick growth, of accelerated growth that no one's ever seen. 700 locations in the United States and Canada in under 3 years. And we did that speed because we wanted to help restaurateurs. Dining rooms were closed, it was the only business they had, and we helped people stay afloat. Well, when you have that kind of growth, something's gonna be wrong. And we talk internally that we were building the plane as we were flying it, right? And so we cared more about helping restaurants make money so that they could pay employees, pay rent, that was our focus. Now we're pausing and we're saying, okay, if our goal is for everyone to make $2,000 a week and this person's making $1,000 a week and their ratings are over here, does it hurt us or help us to keep them? Now, what we first don't want to do is we don't want to turn somebody off because they need the money. It's a revenue stream. It's putting food on the table. But if it's damaging the brand, if I have one location in Fargo, North Dakota, is it damaging my brand if they do bad? I don't know. It may be, because when they travel on a plane and see me at Washington, D.C. airport, maybe they won't buy it. On the other side of the coin, it's helping that restaurateur. So we're trying to juggle the fine line about what's important to us. Is it all about our brand being the best it could possibly be? Or is it about our brand being really, really strong and good and helping people? And that's where we're trying to find our way through. And our first inclination is not to turn people off. The number one word in our employee handbook and the first word of the employee handbook is caring. So caring means we are going to work with you. We are going to teach you. We're gonna show you. We're gonna do everything we can to make sure you're set up for success. And then if you show us that you don't care, that's another conversation. But we assume that you want to be partners on this journey. And so our job is to make you successful, not to punish you.
No, that's great. That's actually that's great, because I think the angle. I mean, when you look at it from the perspective that this is putting food on the table and this is a revenue stream for the restaurant, I totally hear you. Difficult, to actually do when it is hurting your brand directly, because people can have a bad call when they're just cooking your food as like the third or the fourth of the list, right? I mean, these 700
like
locations.
I said, that owner who needs the money cares about it, but that cook is just tired and overworked and underpaid and doesn't care as much.
Correct. No, that's great. In your journey, one intriguing thing that I found was you're a spin instructor.
I am a spin instructor.
How's that going? And why is that going? What's happening there?
So I've been teaching spin for about 7 years now. I used to take spin regularly, and I remember one day we were all in class and the instructor didn't show up. And we're all sitting there and everyone sort of looked at each other. We're just pedaling, some people are having conversations. And I thought, how hard could this be to do? And I ran back to my locker and I got music and I came back in, I plugged in and I got up on the bike and I did 3 songs. And then the class was over and everyone cheered and I sort of liked it. So I went on and got, certified. I took a class on how to teach.
Jeff, you're a dangerous guy, man. You're like one step away from taking everybody's job.
I get paid to yell at people and I get paid to stay active. So it's been good, but it's a release. I swim 3 days a week, about 2 miles each time I swim. So I'm about 6 or 7 miles a week I'm swimming. And I teach spin once a week. And these are the releases. We all need a way to release. And when you become at the higher levels of an organization, it's, the old adage, it's lonely at the top, right? We have nobody that we can commiserate with. You can't take the work home, right? And you can't rely on the people who work just underneath you because they're looking at you to have the right answer.
Correct.
So we need to do 2 things as leaders. We need to surround ourselves with other leaders who we can feel safe to conversationalize with, if that's a word. And then we need to be able to have a release. And my release is teaching spin, basically yelling at people for 45 minutes. I guess my third release is I have a really, really good therapist who, has helped me get to where I am. And I'm very proud of the work that we've completed together. And he's become more of a life coach to me than a business coach and then a therapist now. But those 3 things together, create success. And if you're out there as an entrepreneur right now or as a leader and you're not doing any of those 3, you need to start doing at least one of them, if not 2.
Absolutely. I think I'm not sure about yelling at people or spin. I would love that. But I do agree with the business coach or having a coach, maybe in the form of therapist or coach in general. I think one thing that somebody shared with me once, and some 10 years back, somebody was saying, hey, one should always have a coach. And I was like, for what? He said, you need direction. And he said, that's for people who are directionless. Of course, naive and arrogant of me. So this guy said, you know what? And he pointed at a famous cricketer back in India. He said, you know that guy has a coach, right? I said, yeah, of course. And I was like, oh shit. He said, so that guy needs a coach, but you don't. Like, oh, when you put it like that. And it actually percolated over years. I did not act on it immediately. It kept on percolating drop by drop over years. I was like, all right, I'm wrong for sure, but I still don't know what to look at, in a coach.
What we say is our job as leaders is to manage talent, right? Look at Phil Jackson and coaching the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, and now when he was at the Lakers with Kobe and with Shaq. These are the best players in the world. They don't need a coach. But by managing talent, he's bringing these people, these forces together to do better. If our whole day is managing talent, who's managing us?
Yeah.
That's why we need this person. And to me, this person's given me such a sounding board to just clear my head.
Yep.
Which, you know, is one reason why I think we're able as Wowbow to do so many different things, because my head is clear, right? If you get bogged down in this problem, you get so bogged down in this problem that you miss all the solutions. So we've been very fortunate over.
So when you look at, you know, if just stay there, when you look at the coach or the therapist, when you're talking about the problem, you're not looking for a solution, or you're looking for the third voice to just clear your windscreen, just to help you navigate, or is it really about solutions as well?
I read this book. I forgot Alex. His last name escapes me. Called The Third Door.
I haven't read, but I've heard of the book.
You know the book? So he's a young kid who wanted to, basically was tired with school and got life's lessons by just interviewing the best person in each position. Interviewed Warren Buffett, interviewed Lady Gaga for entertainment, interviewed, you know, Larry King, just to get experiences. And what that book did for me, and what my therapist coach does for me, is they show me the third door, right? It's the path to go through that you can't normally find. So no, my coach isn't telling me to do this and I do that. It's just when I swim, my mind just goes away. And just, it's sort of like my best ideas happen in the shower. I don't know if that happens for you or not, but it's because the hot water is on you. You're not thinking about anything and like, oh my God, like I need a pad of paper in the shower for the ideas to come. The same thing happens in the swimming pool. And it happens with the coach, because the coach teaches you how to look at things differently. That's all it is. It's managing your talent to bring out the best in you. And the only way you can do that is if you can open up your mind for more ideas. There's more possibilities and solutions and answers that there are problems. The issue is a lot of us get bogged down by the problems. You know, you can't see the forest through the trees, or whatever the saying is. Yeah. That's the problem a lot of us have.
Lacking the perspective, just getting too narrow at times.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I have a fantastic team. Like I get to sit here and do this podcast and talk to people as though Jeff Alexander, Wowbow. Wowbow is a team of people. And what I've learned over time is you, me, entrepreneurs, we have hired people to do jobs. You've hired one of two people. You hired a really smart person, or you hired someone to do a job. Now, if you hired someone to do a job, that means you got to tell them what to do all day long.
Sure.
Well, that means if I'm just telling you what to do, I can't go do anything else.
Okay.
I hired smart people. And the thing is, you have to let the smart people go do their job. They'll come to you when they need help. They'll come to you with a question. And if they don't come to you, you check in with them and just be like, give me an update. And if you let them fly, your business will grow. And when you have an idea, you're going to have people who want to take on the idea. They'll be like, I can do that. I'll raise to the challenge. I'll make that happen. I have a guy on my team who has created a business for us, a whole separate business that we didn't even know existed, and doing all this partnership with the sushi counters that we have going on that he owns, he takes care of, he manages it, and he couldn't be happier. It wasn't my idea. I didn't do it. I get all the credit. My investors, you know, everyone's like, good job, Jeff. And I bring him in on every call and that it's him. Let's share that happy moment. You know, give praise where it belongs.
Absolutely. The team is nurturing the talent is really, really important. I also believe that most of the people, you hire a lot of smart people in your journey as an entrepreneur. Most of the times it's not always that you're hiring people for the job, but you make them, you know, do the job because you are not able to lose that control.
I think you hire a lot of people as an entrepreneur, but you don't hire smart for the beginning because you don't know any better, right? A lot of us as entrepreneurs, we don't know how to hire anyone. We don't know what we're looking for. We want to get this done. Hey, can you do it? You're hired, right? And as you get to a point, you know, we hire so many wrong people to find the right people. And that's okay. You just have to acknowledge what was wrong and what it is you're looking for. You know, when I interview people now, I'm like the fourth interview in the process. And I don't talk to you about your resume. I don't even ask you questions about your resume. I assume all that's been hashed out with the other 3 or 4 interviews.
Yeah.
My interaction with you during the interview is, do I like talking to you? Do I want to be in the trenches with you? Do I feel like you will make us better? You'll fit my culture. Do I feel like you'll be good in the bullpen with all the other players?
Yeah.
And if that connection happens and everyone else who interviewed you signed off on your qualities, you're in. If I don't connect with you, if I don't see that if I don't get that emotional spark that you're going to add value to the team, that's the problem.
So, you know, if I can give this emotion some words, me and my co-founder Sakshi, she's also my wife, you know, we have this rule that when we are hiring, and if we are, you know, hiring for mid to senior position, who is going to be having, you know, a lot more face time with us, we're looking at that person in that moment and just figuring out, can we hang out with him or her?
Right.
Right. And if the answer is no, then it's very difficult for us to make that call.
Yeah.
Even at times when we are pressured and
you're never going to want to bring them in the room.
Yeah, because you need that person, you need that skill on the team, and you're going desperate. But then you're constantly questioning that, okay, can we hang out with this person? Is this conversation leading to, like, we can talk for like 3 hours and you know, and we can talk about random shit and still make sense out of, you know, what both of us are saying.
Yeah.
So I hear you there.
And a lot of people don't try to get that connection anymore.
Yeah.
But that's, again, what COVID taught us is we all want connection. The human species needs to interact. And that's why I love the restaurant business. It's about interaction.
Absolutely. All throughout. Jeff, that was a great conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate everything.
You know, when we started this conversation, there were times in between I was constantly trying to poke you with, you know, technology not being the best thing and the greatest thing. Because you know, for me, this journey, you know, coming from the most traditional fine dining restaurants, you know, the group, you know, that you're working with, and coming to NFTs and Web3, for me, this entire thing is quite amazing. I've always been a techie. I've run 2 tech companies, did restaurant in between, and you know, my current company, RestroWorks, is a result of that. But I'm still a very Web3 and NFT noob. I'm not dismissing it because I'm sure it will kill me if I dismiss it. I'm actually more concerned than interested. But I think for me, starting this conversation was really about understanding, where are you coming from? Where is that? And you know, where is that? Is there some dissonance between the traditional old school Jeff, you know, in those restaurants versus somebody who is believing in metaverse and talking about a vending machine in metaverse? I think for me, this was enriching because I find that both the things are at their place, and you're, you know, continuously trying to be a disruptor.
I appreciate that. I think what's important is technology moves very quickly, and there's always a period of adoption. And is NFT and Web3 going to make it? No one knows.
Yeah.
It's not going to make it tomorrow, right? It's where are we going to be 3 years from now?
And maybe it will make it in some other form factor.
Right, it might evolve.
Yeah.
But again, we did self-ordering kiosks in 2010, 2009, and no one did it. And now it's everywhere. I think the NFT and the metaverse, Web3, is going to have a place down the road. So we're investing to be there. I like, you know, there's a Will Ferrell movie called Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights, and I always quote the one line from it: if you're not first, you're last. And I don't want to be the follower. I want to be the leader. Now, while we're on this journey to get there, there will be more, right? But we'll have a jump start on this before anyone else gets there. Some people they will definitely pass us.
Sure.
They will definitely do better than us.
Sure.
But we got there and we did it right to a degree, and then it evolved and it changed. But I'll be able to do this while everyone else is over here still. And that's what I really like about adoption, meeting people like yourself, having conversations about what's next, what's coming. You know, the big thing everyone's doing right now is AI. I'm not using AI for anything. I don't know if I have a place for AI. But AI is going to be pretty big.
100%. No, for example, a couple of years back, somebody was asking me, where is RestroWorks going to use AI, and are you thinking about AI? Are you thinking about AI being given to your customers and this and that? And I think my reaction 3 years back, and I think it continues today, is that I don't know about AI or not AI. I mean, we're doing whatever we are doing, but I do believe that interfaces are going to change. Screen is not going to be the interface. It is a problem to learn, a UI, no matter how easy it is. I enter a McDonald's, learn a great, self-ordering kiosk, and then I go to Wow. No matter how great that design is, there is a little bit of a learning curve. That's not great. I do believe that voice is going to be, the first interface for most of the devices. And if voice is going to be that interface, AI is going to happen. So I think that building that evolutionary change, we can see when we are continuously involved in the business, when we are continuously looking at problems and the solutions, and most of them start intersecting towards something. For you, I hear how NFT. This is actually a new, like a fresh view, the community view. For me, I've not dived into it. I'm sure you can tell. But yeah, I think AI for me is actually voice. For me, AI is less about the recommendations or less about the menu optimization for now. I think for me, AI is all about voice. If we can actually master that, we'll be far ahead and it'll be used. Yeah. Jeff, on that note, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.